charged with 10 offenses and is currently in custody. The next phase of the Gold Star Memorial Bridge rehabilitation project between New London and Groton is set to begin this fall. The $500 million northbound construction phase is now out to bid, with contractor proposals due next month. Work is expected to start later this year once a contractor is selected. 3 Brooklyn, New York residents were arrested Sunday in connection with the theft of over-the-counter medications from Walgreens in Jewett City. Investigators say the group worked together to steal the items, which were concealed in gift bags and later retrieved by a second suspect who fled the store. The suspects were located at a nearby shopping center in Lisbon, where they were arrested following a brief chase. As Marine Draftsmen's Association members consider a tentative contract, Electric Boat has secured new agreements with 2 other shipyard unions. The company, along with the Metal Trades Council of New London County and the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners of America, announced deals related to wage enhancement provisions tied to a $12.4 billion Navy shipbuilding contract. 2 Rhode Island residents have been arrested and charged with felony child neglect after allegedly leaving 2 young children unattended in a car outside Bally's Twin River Casino. Police say 41-year-old Wilfredo Urbina Delgado and 45-year-old Brenda Gonzalez left the children, ages 11 and 7, in a vehicle for an extended period while they gambled inside. Both were taken into custody, and the children were turned over to a family member. I'm Sean Murphy. When news breaks, we break in.
The Densmore Oil and Bugbee Plumbing Seat of Honor.
If you are a politician, get ready to hide under the desk. The Real Tony D'Angelo, Tuesday, 7 a.m. Eastern on the Lee Elci Show at 94.9 News and Stimulating Talk.
He's up late to give you the news you can't get anywhere else early. He fights for truth and justice and the American way. Please welcome our pal from the Paragon Trust Company, the real Tony D. Tony D'Angelo.
All right, my main man Tony D joins us every Tuesday at the same time. Here's what's great about Tony. Not only does he join us, but he's got his own YouTube page. Of course, he's on X, Tony D'Angelo 7. It is a fountain of information and well worth your time. So park yourself in front of either the internets and take a look and find out what he's got to say. Every week it's a little bit different, but today he joins us. Good morning, Tony. How are you?
Good morning, Lee Elci. Good morning, everybody. I'm proud to be among you.
All right, one big, beautiful mess.
And actually, this is the fallout from the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, everybody, I think pretty much everybody listening knows that the House of Representatives of the United States Congress passed the really what would be the first draft of the 2025 tax changes without getting into all the detail on that. We've been through that, or you can read it. And the results they're funny, they're not funny, they're predictable. Remember me yelling, screaming a year ago at the CTGOP, you guys better get on the stick, you better do something. Where are you with respect to this? Do you want to see people's taxes go up? Where are you with respect to 100% expensing? Nothing. Minute the bill is passed, they've got like 3 or 4 posts about it. Like, they won the war after everybody else fought it. They do this all the time. It drives me crazy, but I want you to be aware of that. This would have had a whole lot more weight had people actually. I don't know why they do it. They did the same thing with e-cars, but it's just how it is, I guess. Now, a couple of United States senators are justifiably complaining about, hey, you got to cut spending, and like Johnson and Paul, it's just, the spending's ridiculous. We're, increasing the deficit. Now, when they look at that metric, Lee Elci, they all look at the Congressional Budget Office like it's, this is gospel. They always get it right. They've done nothing but get it wrong since 1991. And again, it's quote unquote, it's a government number. It's a government ascertainment. Remember COVID-19? Remember me screaming 5 years ago, hey, they're dummying up things, they're double counting things and whatever. Now you have all these people coming out and say, oh, yeah, this is what happens. Like, hey, I was telling you about that 5 years ago. All you have to do is read. I'm not all that intelligent. But, I mean, yeah, you do have to cut it, but it's like, guys, it's getting late in the game, and you have to start paying attention because we don't want to see, tax rates up 20% and businesses having to pay taxes on 23% more of their income. We don't want to see that. So it's like, I pray people have, a bigger sense of place than they do. I think they will, but man, they got to hurry. The other thing is, even though I do a lot on social media, do not believe all these pontificators, so-called tax experts, people with 225,000 followers making these statements about this is what's in the tax bill. When you get an MST in taxation, come back and maybe write 2 sentences. And it's just nothing happens here. Double underscore, capital letters. Nothing happens until you see the conference committee bill. This is where the House and the Senate get together and they decide what your tax law will be. I'm a great free speech guy. Free speech is a wonderful thing, but right down the line, a number of these idiots, Lee Elci, just have to shut up.
Well,
it's nonsense.
What's the common thread? What's the theme that you're getting that you think is bogus? That's out there?
I mean, they'll pick one thing and they'll just start saying, well, did you look at that? Did you see that? Did you look at this spending? That all is going to get worked out. Now, you may not like the way it gets worked out, but it's like you can't play the game until you actually get to the field. Okay. And a lot of that, I think, takes people off the track out of what needs to be done because they get focused on something which ain't going to be there at the end no matter how hard you do it. Going back, looking at these things since 1986, because that's how far I go back shamefacedly, it's always a push and pull until it gets to the conference committee. When the House gives a bill, it's usually a wish list, and a lot of those wishes get tossed away.
Right. So, I mean, are we in any way, shape, or form making any fiscal sound conservative types of decisions in any of this stuff?
We can. We certainly can. I mean, you certainly can't overburden the consumer and the citizen and give him more taxes and make it harder for him to do business. After all, he's the guy paying the taxes. But most of the resistance, from what I can see, is from politicians that don't want to go back and tell their people that they're cutting spending because they don't like that. You pull the candles off the cake.
Somewhere along the line, that's got to happen. You know it.
It has to happen.
It has to happen.
It has to happen.
Tony D'Angelo with us. Tony D'Angelo 7. All right, so one big beautiful mess, and this is something. Just one more thing from this. I know you want to move on, but this is something that's evolving. What's the time frame normally on these bills?
Well, the president, Donald Trump, he is the president. Sorry about that, folks. Said he wants to announce it by July 4th. It's possible 86 moved that fast, but really his resistance is not quote unquote Democrats. There's more Republicans than Democrats. The resistance is in his own party, and that's the thing that really concerns me.
Is there one thing that jumps off the page that bothers you the most?
One thing that jumps off the page, people not seeing the big picture, and the fact that you've really got to match the cuts with the lower taxes, and making that should be hammered to everybody every single day.
All right, that's the 30,000-foot view of the big, beautiful mess / bill. Let's move to Connecticut. Connecticut has their own bill, Senate Bill, 2? Is that Connecticut Senate Bill 2?
This is the act concerning artificial intelligence. Now, I've seen bad things in this state. I've seen bad things going back to the days of Thomas Meskill when I was in high school. But this, to me, Lee Elci, has got to be the most anti-business, obstructionist, bureaucracy interfering, and unconstitutional litigation-prone mess I've ever seen. And what it does is it deals with artificial intelligence. Now, Chinese are laughing at us. Chinese are saying, well, look at these idiots in the United States. We're sitting here ripping and roaring, and the states can't decide with the federal government as to who's supposed to have what to do. The federal government, the United States Congress came out and said, well, we passed a law that any state doing artificial intelligence legislation is, moratorium, 10 years. You can't do it. It's just too confusing. But the rest of the world is laughing at us. Now, when we get to the Connecticut bill, this thing cuts three different ways. The key subject here is the regulation of artificial intelligence. Now, Reader's Digest condensed version, there's three functional parties to this thing. There's somebody called an integrator. Cuts every way. And this is a person that combines an AI system into a larger product. That could be, somebody adding a chatbot to customer service. That could be the 94.9 website. An implementer, and this is somebody putting an AI system into operation. This is somebody, a tech coming to install an AI system for a business. Now, the other thing, and this is the killer, a deployer. These are all the things that are going to be regulated. Now, that's give you a little book rule. A person or entity that releases or makes an AI system available for use in a live environment. That could be me. That could be me doing research. That could be a doctor checking something, with respect to, blood disorders or things like that. And I mean, it's like everything has to be regulated according to this bill. Now, when you get to this, they have a term, and this is the thing that drives me nuts about Connecticut law and Connecticut drafting. It's always done to favor the state. They use a term. A developer must use reasonable care to prevent algorithmic discrimination. What the hell is reasonable care? Who determines what's reasonable? And who determines is reasonable? The AG. Reasonable care is draw your own conclusions. Reasonable care is, to be used in what is called a high-risk environment. What's a high-risk environment? Well, just about anything. Anything with finance, law, medicine. Read the list, anything. Now, it's when you get down to the integrator, this is any person, doing business in the state. Actually, the integrator would be somebody combining something to something else. That integrator's got to have a contract with a developer and public statements dealing risk. Now, can that person, putting in that chatbot, the girl that comes and does the computer work, can she possibly stay in business with that kind of regulation? And then the deployer. This is the killer. Actually, this isn't really the killer. This is like the pre-killer. Any person doing business in the state that deploys a high risk, what they determine to be high risk, artificial intelligence system. So me doing tax research on Grok, I'm considered to be high risk. Now, that could be, I read that as anyone doing anything. Who determines that? The AG. Now, this is what you need to do. I have to have a risk management policy and conduct annual impact assessments for high-risk systems. So what does that mean? Do I have to, shut down? Do I have to go every place I used Grok during the course of the year? I did Grok on this research for this client. Okay, now you're cutting into federal law because federal law tells me that I can't tell anybody about what I do for a client or I go to jail. I mean, this is absolutely, positively insane. And, I mean, they're incredible, and this stuff gets passed. This, I think the vote on this was 32-4. I think there were 4 Republican senators that opposed this. And then here's a little more sprinkles for your ice cream cone. Impact on out-of-state business. An out-of-state business or a franchise or something headquartered somewhere else doing work here, or somebody, even a small business doing work here, they want to have them step to the Connecticut law. Now, what does that mean? Does somebody look at, like down here on the corner, 101 and 395, there's a Jersey Mike's. Big building going up. Now, does that mean the Jersey Mike's franchise looks at that and says, I got to do all this crap in Connecticut? I'm not going to put a building up there. These people were crazy. I mean, I don't even know if they've thought about what this thing is. Now, there are cure periods. If you get your hand slapped, you got a 60-day cure period, and after that, it's you versus the Attorney General. Something called a regulatory sandbox. The state will decide if your AI is good AI, and who's going to decide that? The DECD. I mean, it's I sit here and I'm glad I have a chair with arms. You know, the DECD, you know, semaphore, digital currency, doesn't matter. They're going to do it, and it goes to show you. And again, 32-4. Okay, now let's just say I have a gripe. The Attorney General, who maybe doesn't like me, doesn't like the way I'm using Grok, and wants to make a complaint against me. What am I subject to? The Connecticut Unfair Trade Practices Act. That's pretty much where he can do whatever in the hell he feels like doing. Now, here's the other thing, and this is the thing I want people to pay attention about. We have a First Amendment in this country, and we have a First Amendment. We have a right to speak out against politicians. We've heard politicians talk about from both sides of the aisle what a great thing that we're going to do. We're going to have synthetic content marking requirements. That's like for pictures and memes, and that runs the gamut from having, maybe someone with a flower pot in his head to something, really hellacious and wrong. Now, the thing is, the first question you ask is, does this impact on the First Amendment? And just hold that thought for a moment. But I want to look specifically at this. And this is the synthetic image provisions. It requires developers to mark AI-generated content. You've got to mark it and ensure detectability with prohibitions on disseminating certain synthetic images that are deceptive. Now, here's the thing. What does that mean? Now, that sounds great. That sounds like we're going to protect kids, right? Well, we got a federal law. It's called the Take It Down Act. It just passed Congress. And that law mandates an online platform to remove non-consensual intimate images within 48 hours of a victim's request. And I mean, that is the magic bullet. That's the perfect solution. Get that stupid picture of me off of Facebook or Twitter. That's not me. You got 48 hours to do it. But we have this thing in Connecticut called synthetic images. Now, I was messing around last night, and I said, well, what does that mean? I said, do you see anything in what I've just said? And I realized I don't have a diagram. I'll put something up later that limits a synthetic image that might be lampooning a politician. Do you see any restriction in that, Lee Elci?
No.
Okay. This is what I did last night. I was having a little fun.
Okay.
I went back like 4 or 5 years, and I got out all those Ned coin
Sure.
things.
Right.
Crown, Ned Cayman Islands,
Yep.
all the things that were going around when we were first doing that on the radio. And I said, does this, whatever you want to call it, does this picture fall under this thing of synthetic image? And they said, well, if you don't mark it, yes, it does, because somebody can look at that and say, yeah, that's Ned Lamont who's trading, Bitcoin futures in the Cayman Islands, and that could be misleading. So it's like, who are we protecting here? Are we protecting kids in Connecticut, or are we protecting politicians?
So if you do something in jest, you have to. What do you have to do? You have to.
You supposedly have to mark it
with an AI logo
with
or a
some
stamp?
sort of an AI logo.
Okay.
But it's like, now it's like, well, are you hampering free speech? Now,
Right.
I don't have 5 hours a day to put up, memes of politicians.
Right.
Some people do. But it's like, it's like, why do you need something? If your whole thing here is to protect kids from obscene content, what's wrong with the Take It Down Act? That it's like,
right.
Get rid of this thing. This whole thing is really, when I look at it, this synthetic image provision, it's a politician protecting thing.
So the Take It Down Act, the only thing that concerns me about that, you said 48 hours. Once somebody takes a screenshot of that, they have it, right? There's nothing that can help with that.
Well, you put it this way. You're right. I mean, and then you've got First Amendment concerns there too. But at least you've challenged it. At least it comes down.
Yeah. I'm just saying that that's just, this whole thing's it's a mess, and I get what you're saying.
But it's the kind of thing, and as far as I realize, we got 2 minutes left.
That's all right. Got time.
This whole mess that they're trying in Connecticut, I mean, it's like, you might as well just say, don't come to the state and do any business whatsoever. I mean, because it's restrictionist, it's protectivism, it's a one-way street, it's burdensome. This has been tried before in many cases in other states. Colorado, Texas, Virginia. Texas threw their arms up and said, violates the First Amendment. It's a mess. We got to get rid of it. And I mean, all we're doing when we do these things, Lee Elci, is we make things more complicated. We make them more difficult. We tend to rewrite laws in this state where the fixes are there. No, like to take it down. It's not perfect, but yet it's a whole lot better than something that somebody making, getting angry at a politician, albeit for good reason, going home, putting a crown on Ned Lamont's head, and having the Attorney General, who basically is judge, jury, and executioner, this thing saying, you violated synthetic images. I mean, it's like, if it's targeted to kids, okay, you've got my attention, but this can protect the politician from the First Amendment, and that's unconstitutional. Around the other thing, I'll go really quickly. Dormant Commerce Clause. If I'm working in Connecticut and they want to hamper the use of my AI, well, what about, my contemporary in Florida doing the same thing, who can now compete in my state because I'm hampered?
Interesting. That's such a good point. Yeah.
Your government at work, man. That's all I can tell you.
It just seems like if it's doing irreparable harm, then you should have the right to figure out how to take it down, right? I mean, that seems like it's common sense to me.
And we have a body of tort law, but basically, it's that's not good enough because the tort law protects what it's intended. It's not perfect, but it's the politician looks at this and says, well, I don't like what was done to me, and I'm going to say, well, you're going to hurt a kid. Well, I think I'm kind of looking and say, well, you're concerned about you being hurt because there's better protections from the kids without having to do a thing.
Yeah, like putting a crown on Ned's head or putting a dress on Senator Murphy is not hurting anybody. It's satire. It's supposed to be.
Right, but who determines hurt?
I know.
That's the whole thing, and you're under the Unfair Trade Practices Act, and even if you're right, go spend half your life fighting it like everything else.
That's true. All right, what do you got Thursday, kid?
Thursday, they don't want to tell you. We're going to follow up with just what we've spoken about here, and we're also going to be looking at hidden information things in Connecticut where they are hidden and they don't want you to know about them, and starts with a Kevin Rennie piece on Sunday, and that barely scratches the surface. We'll get down to it.
All right, my friend. Good stuff as always, Tony.
Thank you, pal.
All right, man. Tony D'Angelo. Find him on the X, Tony D'Angelo 7. And, of course, type in his YouTube page. Bring it up. And every Thursday he unleashes a brand new video. So look forward to checking that out every single week. All right, short break. We'll come back. Flax is next. Liz Karanowitz then. Phone calls in the 9 o'clock hour. Keep it here, everybody.
Be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Billions of hearts have been broken, yes, yes. Just because these words were spoken. You know the words that were spoken? Here it is. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Yes, but if you break my heart, I'll break your jaw and then I'll die. So be sure it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Now get on out there and tell your lie. What is it?
Lee Elci.
Know how I stayed alive this long? All these years. Fear. The spectacle of fearsome acts.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 10 on 94.9 News Now and stimulating talk. Traffic alert on 94.9 News Now.
In East Lyme, an accident has closed the off-ramp from I-95 northbound to I-395. Use exit 81 to access I-395. Traffic is stopped on exit 75. Heading over the Gold Star Bridge, there is road construction on the Groton side, I-95 southbound. Route 12 is stop and go in both directions in Groton. Route 32 and I-395 are currently delay-free. I'm Eddie Schaefer, Time Saver Traffic.